right, good Tuesday afternoon, everyone. My name is Crystal Holloman, a digital reporter here at News 10, joined by News 10 Sports Co-Director Tim Staudt. How are you? I
Good
haven't seen you in a
afternoon.
while.
Yeah, you've been busy.
I've been busy.
We've all been busy. It's a busy time of year. It's transitional time.
It is.
August is still vacation for some, but not for everyone.
It is not for everybody. We're starting high school football workouts and practices.
Well, the NFL's been going at it for a couple of weeks. You see our ratings for our Channel 10 Hall of Fame game across America, 6.6 million viewers. You don't think the NFL has a magical touch, do you?
Not at all.
When you think, and that game meant absolutely nothing. I said on the radio today, I still think part of the reason there were 6.6 million, which is incredibly good for an exhibition game, I think there had to be people tuning in to see if Aaron Rodgers was going to play for the Jets in his
I would've.
debut. He didn't.
Oh, that's what
But
I would turn it.
still, whether that hooked people to stay with it for a while just to see football. And you had a New York team involved as well. And the Jets fans are kind of like the Lions fans. They have a lot higher expectations this fall than they've had in some time. Fair or unfair, realistic or not.
I mean,
Lions got a
the
quarterback
Lions had
today. They got a quarterback today.
they did.
And Teddy Bridgewater.
Backup quarterback, but yes.
Yeah, but he's played a lot. And I've said for a long time, all this hype about the Lions is all great, providing their quarterback doesn't get hurt. And he didn't get hurt last year. I mean, they went 9-8 and had a big finish, but he didn't get hurt. And a lot of these quarterbacks through 17 weeks of play are getting hit all the time, and they get knocked out. And when the Lions in the past have had guys having replaced Matthew Stafford, they lose every single game. Right. Mostly by a blowout. And I thought, they have nobody who backs up Goff. And just on the law of averages, they're going to go after him this fall. They're going to go after him. That's how you stop him. But Bridgewater, who's 30 years old, has played for like 8 different teams in the NFL, and he does have experience. So to me, if Goff goes down, or if he isn't playing well,
Which could happen.
then the options. Dan Campbell was an assistant with Bridgewater in New Orleans, so they know each other. So I think that's, on paper, a very good addition for them at a place where they needed backup help. Everybody's got good starters in the NFL, but it's the backup guys, because you're going to go through guys all year long. You just do. What's your depth like? If you don't have depth, and the Lions have rarely had depth through the years, I claim. If they never got anybody hurt, they would have had much better seasons. But everybody gets players hurt. So who do you back them up with? The quarterback. Now, they, at least in my opinion, have a shot to hang in there if for any reason Goff goes down.
I feel like they have more of a shot than in previous seasons.
Well,
now we can actually say we have a chance.
They're all sold out.
They are.
I mean,
I didn't get my tickets. I tried.
They're all sold out.
I tried. That's what I was doing all last week.
There's excitement in that regard.
Speaking of Detroit, we do have some news out of Detroit. I brought it to your attention just as you came in.
Fred hadn't heard this.
Fred hadn't heard this.
He said, "Where'd you hear it?" I said, "Crystal just told me. I walked in the door and heard Jim Price died today."
He did. Member of the 1968 world champion Detroit Tigers, broadcaster alongside Ernie Harwell, recently with Dan Dickerson. The Tigers announced it on social media today.
He'd been in failing health. He hadn't been broadcasting. He hadn't been going on the road. They kept it pretty quiet what was ailing him. There's no cause of death given other than he had been in fail. I didn't know he was 81. He always seemed younger than that. And he was still broadcasting games as he could. He was with the Tigers organization in a variety of roles. He used to come to Lansing during the season to promote some of the events they were having, and he would stop by here or stop by radio and do a piece. So I got to know him from that standpoint pretty well. But then his time was taken up by the rigors of doing these games day after day after day. And then when his health, whatever was the reason, started to slow him down, they've had other guys filling in. It takes a lot out of you if you got to do 160. It's one thing to play them, but to travel and broadcast those. I mean, I don't know how Harwell did it that long age. I mean, I don't know how he did it that long. I mean, you got to have a strong constitution, good health, and all that. But yes, that's a story today that Jim Price passed away today at the age of 81.
He passed away on Monday.
Is that what it is?
Yes,
So it happened
today.
yesterday.
Yes.
All right.
They announced it today. They said he passed away on Monday. Again, he worked alongside Ernie Harwell and Dan Dickerson. We do have on that web story I just showed you on WILX.com a statement from Dan Dickerson along with Chris Illich. He also played softball. Did you know that?
I did. I said to Fred, "Did you know he played?" So he said, "Yeah, he played for the Caesars team with Northrop." And Fred's been in Detroit working. This stuff goes back so far. I mean,
Because it was in the late
goes
70s,
it goes back so far. I mean, he was the backup catcher to Bill Freehand on the '68 World Series team. He played 5 years in the bigs, all as a backup catcher. But he played them all with Detroit. And let me tell you, Freehand was as good as it gets in his prime. Former Michigan player, all-star, blah, blah, blah. And Freehand passed away, in the last year or two?
Some of the people in the newsroom said that they heard Price broadcasting as recently as last month.
Yeah, he had been working.
Okay.
Yeah, he was doing home games. He was not traveling with them. And I mean, for me to give you all the dates that he didn't work and did work, I don't have all that in hand because I've known this since I walked in here and you told me 15 minutes ago. So they play home tonight against the Twins. I'm sure that'll be, on the pregame Bally Sports show at 6 o'clock because the first pitch is 6:40. This obviously will come up with some kind of coverage. As for the team is 10-13 since the All-Star break. It's 14 games under 500 now for the first time this season at 49-63. They got 50 games to go. If they lose tonight to the Twins, they're playing 6 games, 4 here and 2 in Minnesota next week. I just don't see how they're going to have enough to catch them. I mean, even if you think that kind of optimism, it just, they got to be 9-3 last night. They were never in the game after the second inning. I don't know how good the Twins are, but they've played better of late. Anyway, so the game's tonight, tomorrow night, Thursday afternoon, then the Tigers go to Boston on the weekend when the Lions are in town in Detroit playing the Giants.
Over the weekend and a little bit into the last week, there was some shakeup in college sports conferences. I know you talked about it a little bit before, but now
hour by hour.
The Associated Press is reporting that the ACC is considering a westward expansion with their eye on Stanford and Cal.
Well, they're
what
talking.
What sense does this make?
Pardon?
What sense does this
make? Zero. It makes zero. I mean, there's no common sense. I mean, I'll believe that. I want to say I'll believe it when I see it, but yet all these I mean, why did the existing ACC schools want to add 2 schools 3,500 miles away? I mean, doesn't somebody say in these meetings this makes no sense to us, one way or the other? Now that doesn't mean they're going to do it anyway. It just says they're all exploratory and talking but I haven't heard anything about the Big Ten and getting involved with Cal and Stanford. And to me, if Cal and Stanford were going to be involved with anybody, it'd be the Big Ten, because then you would have 6 Pacific schools that would cut down on a lot of that travel, because you could stay out there and play 5 league teams in the Big Ten, all of which were former Pac-12s. I mean, that to me, if you're going to add the Pacific Coast, give them some schools out there to play.
Keep those rivalries too.
Well, yeah, that, but then you're not going 30.
Traveling from
you're not
Oregon
in an
to
airplane.
Rutgers.
I mean, you can still have a predominant schedule on the West Coast, but until it happens, I guess everything's on the table.
So
changes every 10 minutes.
It does. A lot of the questions about this I've seen is the logistics of that travel. What sense does it make to have?
Well, I mean,
coast to coast travel.
They don't have a lot of time to figure this out. They've made but I mean, if the Big Ten is or isn't going to add 2 schools, you can't go into formats for scheduling of the sports till you know who's in your league.
Exactly.
I mean, are you absolutely shutting it down at 18? I mean, or are you adding 2 to make it obviously 10 and 10, East and West, whatever, and dividing them up or whatever? I mean, you can't schedule if you still are considering. They don't say anything about whether they are or they aren't, which leads me to believe behind the scenes. I think the trigger school is Florida State. They went out of the ACC, and where they end up could trigger the ACC and Cal and Stanford. And I think that also will trigger what Washington State and Oregon State are going to do. They'll have some options trying to figure this thing out moving forward, other than the fact that the Pac-12 is history.
Speaking of history of the Pac-12, what are your thoughts on I
wish we could all take a mulligan, go right on back to 2011, where it was when we had 11 schools and Penn State was the 11th. and everybody had their leagues, and everybody's champion played in a big New Year's Bowl game, and the Pac-12 and the Big Ten champ played in the Rose Bowl. And that's what I grew up with. That's even on the air for years and years and years. Now, I mean, it's not so much the television money spoiled this, in my opinion. It's the fact that the runaway budgets of all of these schools, which never have been held in check, require endlessly amounts of more revenue. You can't raise ticket prices. You can't keep beating on your donors when they're given name, image, and likeness and other donations. So where are you going to get it? And if the television end is where you're going to get it and that money's out there, that's where the networks are going to change us all around. I mean, it just is what it is. And I guess I'm not totally surprised that, because nobody has cut back. They all just keep saying you got to keep spending more. Just keep adding and adding.
What about your thoughts on what the Pac-12 was? Those rivals,
Well,
they produced some great players.
You had some wonderful schools. The teams. They won more than 500 national championships total, way more than any other league. Stanford's the number one top-to-bottom athletic school in America, not necessarily in football.
Right.
Southern Cal and UCLA have traditions and heritages. Oregon has come out of late. Washington's been there a long time. Blah, blah, blah. Stanford and Cal are a long, long time. That league's over 100 years old, but it does not have the clout of viewership that other areas of the country have. California, as you know, is a different type of state. It just, they beat to a different drummer that isn't just going crazy over college athletics.
Speaking of drummers, remember the band is on the field play?
Yeah.
That was two Pac-12 schools. Yeah. So we do have a question it's from Seth, so we're not going to ask that question. He wants to know, what do you think of Kellen shooting at Egypt Valley right now?
What do I think of Kellen what?
Shooting at Egypt Valley right now.
What did he shoot at Egypt Valley?
I don't know. This is like Seth's bedtime, so. Any other questions you can join us on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We'll get to Seth later. But any other thoughts on these three main topics?
No, the only thing I have is to promote our high school football coverage on Channel 10 tonight. Last night we covered Eastern and Sexton. And tonight we got Jackson and East Lansing. And both those teams this fall, especially East Lansing, they got talented players, veteran coaches. So we're doing 2 schools a night through next week. We're getting 20 in the area of note. And then the first Frenzy show is Thursday night, August 24th, because that's opening night for the opening night of games. So we'll, Fred and Joey are out there. So tonight, Jackson and East Lansing at 6 o'clock, 6:20. Right. So there you go.
That's what we have coming up. Don't forget, you can join us during these live chats. Ask questions just like Seth did. We will answer them as best we can. Apparently, Kellen is golfing. I'm thinking he's golfing with Seth right now. Pretty good day for it.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a good day to practice for football teams outside. That's not stifling August heat, which can be dangerous. It's perfect.
It's actually what we need right now.
So there you go.
I'm going to go golfing. You're going to finish up the sports class, and we will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.